Hello ladies and gentlemen, Tevaron here and welcome back to the Aether Revolt set review. This time, we will be going over the red cards of Aether Revolt. Just as a reminder, these are my opinions and raw card evaluations, having never actually played with these cards before. I'm bound to get some of them wrong, probably a lot of them. If you would like to check out the previous reviews, just click the link in the description or the small pop-up in the upper right corner of the video, and it will take you to a handy-dandy playlist. And now, let's begin. Aether Chaser. A red and 1 for a 2/1 first striking human artificer. When Aether Chaser enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. Whenever Aether Chaser attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. I mean, it's kind of the same story with this guy as with the whole cycle. It's not terrible, but it's not really great either. First Strike is very nice, but I'm just not sure any of them can make the cut. Tundras Revolution. 3 and a red, sorcery. Tundras Revolution deals 4 damage to target creature. Tap target land. That land doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. This card is very strange to me. Tapping down a land for a turn while killing a threat would be great in a land destruction deck. However, that's not really a thing in Magic anymore. Thankfully, Monvuli Acid Moss is gone. Long gone. If it could hit a player, or even just target a planeswalker as well as a creature, then it would be a lot better. As is, I don't really think it's that good. Destructive Tampering. 2 and a red, sorcery, choose 1, destroy target artifact, or creatures without flying can't block this turn. Well, red finally gets a decent way to deal with artifacts, with the added versatility of being able to push through an alpha strike and a board stall. It would be much better if we actually had sideboards in Duels, as that's where this card actually belongs, but as is, I think it is a serviceable spell that will probably see some amount of play. Umbral Gear Smasher. 2 and a red for a 2/3 human warrior. Tap it, sacrifice an artifact. Umbral Gear Smasher deals 2 damage to each opponent. While Thermo Alchemist, this card is not. I think the amount of work you have to do before this guy does any himself is just too much. Enraged Giant. 5 and a red for a 4/4 giant with Improvise, Trample, and Haste. I really want to say this guy is terrible, but honestly, I think he might be okay. Personally, I've been known to jam a black-red deck with a lot of artifacts in the past, and I think he may slot into that. Not as a full set of 3, mind you, but as a 1 or a 2 of. The question is, would you rather play this guy with Trample and Haste, or Free Jam Regent? 4 and 2 red for a 4/4 dragon with Improvise, Flying, and for a red and 1, Free Jam Regent gets +2/+0 until end of turn. I feel like the dragon and the giant are competing for the same slot in the same decks. It just depends on which turns out to be better, Flying or Haste and Trample. Maybe they're just too mana intensive. I don't know, but I feel like they could maybe do some work. Frontline Rebel. 2 and a red for a 3/3 human warrior that must attack every turn if able. No. Just no. We have better aggressive creatures than this, and being forced to attack every turn is terrible. He's just begging to suicide himself into an opposing fatty. Majoring Bully hasn't been good enough to play in quite a while. This guy isn't either. Hungry Flames. 2 and a red instant. Hungry Flames deals 3 damage to target creature and 2 damage to target player. Now this is a burn spell I can get behind. Kill a creature and hurt the opponent? Please and thank you. Instant speed too? You spoil me. Invigorated Rampage. 1 and a red, instant, choose 1. Target creature gets +4/+0 and gains trample until end of turn, or 2 target creatures each get +2/+0 and gain trample until end of turn. Well, the hits keep coming and they don't stop coming. This card is really capable of pushing a lot of damage through, and quite versatile too, especially with first strikers like Carry Zev, Skyship Raider. 1 and a red for a 1/3 legendary human pirate with first strike and menace. Whenever Carry Zev Skyship Raider attacks, create a legendary 2/1 red monkey creature token named Raghavan that's tapped and attacking. Exile that token at end of combat. Yeah, this is a 2-drop first striker I can get behind. Menace to boot, making her tough to block. And with pump spells available, like the previously seen Invigorated Rampage, you're constantly threatening to blow your opponent out if they do put 2 creatures in front of her. I think Aggressive Red is getting a good bump in this set, and Carry Zev is leading the revolution. Carry Zev's Expertise. 1 and 2 red for a sorcery, gain control of target creature or vehicle until end of turn, untap it. It gains haste until end of turn. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Now this is a threatened type of effect I can see actually playing main deck, which is a good thing since Duels doesn't have sideboarding. Being able to swing with your opponent's creature while still casting another spell seems really good. I mean, really good. Pia's Revolution. 2 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to your hand unless target opponent has Pia's Revolution, deal 3 damage to him or her. So this card has some interesting stuff going on. That doesn't mean I think it's good. I don't actually know with this one. It can do some interesting stuff for sure. Pair it with Umbral Gear Smasher and force your opponent to take 5 total to not let you bring back the artifact you just sacrificed. Also, making them pay 3 every time a Pilgrim's Eye or Filigree Familiar dies to keep it from recurring is a very cool thing. Again though, I'm not sure it's a good thing, but cool? Absolutely. Ravenous Intruder. 1 and a red for a 1/2 Gremlin. Sacrifice an artifact, Ravenous Intruder gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So this is just straight up Atog under another name, which is really sweet. Unfortunately, this time around there aren't artifact lands to feed him, so I just don't think there are enough artifacts available for him to be the kind of terrifying threat that Atog was in the original Mirrodin. Still cool that they would print it though. Just a shame that he seems to be chowing down on a soul ring there. Reckless Racer. 2 and a red for a 2/3 human pilot with first strike. Whenever Reckless Racer becomes tapped, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So I think this guy could be really awesome in the Scrap Heap Scrounger's Prized Amalgam deck. It's important to note that the recent standard bannings do not impact Magic Duels, so Smuggler's Copter is still flying the skies, and that deck always wants more discard outlets. Reckless Racer seems like he could very well fit the bill. Scrapper Champion. 3 and a red for a 2/2 human artificer with double strike. When Scrapper Champion enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. Whenever Scrapper Champion attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So this is another very cool card that I just don't think quite hits the mark. 4 mana is a lot to be paying for what this card is doing, especially with the new influx of quality removal that we're getting in this set. Take for instance this next card. Shock. 1 red instant. Shock deals 2 damage to target creature or player. While it's not anywhere close to being Lightning Bolt, Shock has been a staple of every standard format in which it was printed. I see no reason to think that that will change in Magic Duels. Siege Modification. 1 and 2 red for an enchantment. Enchant creature or vehicle. As long as enchanted permanent is a vehicle, it's a creature in addition to its other types. Enchanted creature gets +3/+0 and has first strike. So this certainly seems like a much better vehicle crewing spell than Aerial Modification, mostly owing to its lower casting cost. It's worth noting we are getting this behemoth in this set, but we'll talk about him when we get to the colorless cards. Sweatworks Brawler. 3 and a red for a 3/3 human artificer with Improvise and Menace. Seems a little weak to me at 4 mana in red. Improvise is a cost reducer, but it's nowhere near as good a cost reduction mechanic as Delve was. And I don't think an aggressive deck wants to be tapping its creatures to cast this when they could be swinging. If any of these creatures with Improvise see play at all, I think it will be the Giant or the Dragon. Wrangle. 1 and a red sorcery, gain control of target creature with power 4 or less until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn. Well, Kari Zev's expertise is just out and out better than this. And sure, you could cast this for free off of the expertise, but still, I think it's more of a sideboard card than one that warrants a main deck inclusion. And as I've said ad infinitum, we don't get those in Magic Duels. And that brings us to the end of the red cards coming to Magic Duels in Aether Revolt. Let's rank our top 3, shall we? But before we get into that, our first honorable mention of Aether Revolt. And that is Shock. Welcome back, my friend. Glad to have you on board. And coming in at number 3, Kari Zev's expertise. Number 2, Invigorated Rampage. And at number 1, Kari Zev, Skyship Raider. So, what were your favorite cards in red? What would you have liked to have gotten that we didn't? Just like with black, I'm pretty satisfied with the cards that made it into Magic Duels. Will this be a trend that continues? I guess we'll see next time when we look at the green cards of Aether Revolt. I hope you'll join me for that. And until then, friends, be excellent to each other.